Joining us here, Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Gibbs here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you been, Joe?
Hey, I've been great, Rich. Thanks for having me on, and I always look forward to speaking to the Redskin fans. So I'm thrilled to get a chance to say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
You bet. What would you want to say to Redskins fans right now?
I want to say thanks for all the years. I mean, I got to coach football in the greatest sports franchise in the world, and I think it means so much to that town. And for me to be a part of that, and the funny things that we went through, and some of the great things that memories and everything I have from that, and obviously in football you have the times that are very tough, but you have the thrill of getting a chance to climb the mountain. And I got to tell you, and the most important thing for me were the fans and the relationship with the players and the front office. I had two great owners that gave me every single thing. How many guys get a chance to coach someplace? And we all know what happens at many of the franchises and everything, but I had two owners that gave me everything. Great coaching staff. You win with the guys around you. And so for all those reasons, when you ask me a question like that, I go on and on because it is so many people were involved with it.
Well, I mean, as for Redskins fans today, Joe, everybody's trying to get back to those good old days that we're going to see chronicled in the football life, where fans fell in love with Washington Redskins football with Joe Gibbs coaching it. And that includes the owner, Dan Snyder, too. What do you say to those fans who are waiting for these days to return right now, Joe?
I say that we all see in the franchises in the NFL how hard it is, because it only takes a little bit. That's the reason why I realized how fortunate we were to have the run that we've had, and to come back the second time and see how hard that was, and we managed to get to a couple of playoffs. But it is so hard up there. I think our fans realize, as they look around the league, that how many teams have never experienced a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl win. So I think we got to just pull as hard as we can. I know we got right here at our race complex, we got some of the greatest Redskin fans. Hey, and let me tell you this. The other night, I'm watching my grandson play. This is a side. I go over to go to the snack bar, and I turned around. This is in a small town here in North Carolina. Here's a guy standing at the fence, and I look at him. He's got on a Redskin jacket with all three Super Bowls down the arm. He's got on a Redskin boggin hat. He had on sweatpants that were Redskin. This guy was from top to bottom and had a tattoo. It was Redskins. So I walk over to him and I handed him a track, and the guy and he kind of looked at me kind of like, hey, yeah. And I could tell he didn't recognize me at all. And the guy standing next to him, I had a big hoodie on. The guy next to him said, "That's Joe Gibbs." The guy freaked out. And so I get the biggest kick out of Redskin fans and getting a chance to meet them. This morning, I was coming to work, and the guy on the back of his truck in Charlotte on the freeway had a Redskin sticker on the back of his truck. I pulled up next to him and gave him the big thumbs up. And I got to tell you, I get the biggest kick out of our fans. They're just awesome. They deserve the best, but we got to understand it's hard to get these things going in the right direction. I think we got with Dan and Jay and Bruce and everybody there now, they're working themselves silly, and hopefully we're going to hit it here and get going.
Was Joe Gibbs here on the Rich Eisen Show? Was one of those fans that you're referring to behind the wheel or on the hoodie? Was that Dale Jr.? Joe?
Now, let me say this. Dale Jr. may be our biggest fan.
I know.
Right? I see him on pit road all the time, and we're joking back and forth about the Redskins and everything. And he came to practice up there when I coached the second time. And one of the funny stories, I gave him some shirts. Well, these shirts kind of had hard collars. Yeah, the young guys are. Mm-hmm. They go in a room to change, and they come back out. They had on the same T-shirts, and he handed them back to me, and he goes, "I think we'll just wear the T-shirts." I'd given them a dorky shirt. You know what I mean? They weren't wearing that. But anyway, Junior, you got to love Junior. And so we love him being in our sport here.
Now, I know. What do you think, before we return to football, what do you think Junior's legacy is now that he's stepping away?
I think it's the whole family and him, everything he did. here's the thing about it's very unusual to have a daddy and to have Junior. They always said the right things. They were never pouting. They never had their lip out. They were always man to man about things, no matter what happened. And it's hard to do that. I mean, their fan base grew so big because they always handled things the right way. I still remember Senior. He got wrecked here at Charlotte. And a guy actually wrecked him, and he turned over 2 or 3 times, and he got out of the car and was holding his chest because he had cracked his sternum, but he didn't let on, and he walked across the racetrack, and he had his helmet in his hand, and the cars are coming around. Everybody went like this. They go, oh, my gosh, he's going to throw that helmet at whoever wrecked him. And when the guy came around, all he did is he held out his hand with a thumbs up. In other words, thumbs up to you. You got me, and I'm going to get you. So I think the way he and his dad, the fans love them, and they should because they won a bunch. And Junior, I hope Junior is going to be in our sport forever. I think he's going to do TV stuff. I think he's going to own his own race team, and so I think that'll be fun having him around.
Agreed. Joe Gibbs here on the Rich Eisen Show. Your football life's on NFL Network, 9 Eastern time on NFL Network again on Friday night. What was the first time you ever coached against Tom Landry? What was that like when you had the hat on the other side of the sideline, Joe?
Well, a lot of things that people don't really know. One of the things is my hero kind of growing up, and when I decided I wanted to coach and was studying everybody, was Coach Landry, because the stories about Coach Landry was that most of us struggled just handling one part of the game. In other words, for me, it was all offense. I had to depend on a coaching staff. We had one of the greatest coaching staffs. Our first go-around here with Richie, Torgy, Peck, Emmett, all those guys working over there. And then my second go-around with all the coaches we had there on defense, I was, you realize I could barely handle one side of it. 1/3 of it was the offense. Coach Landry, the word was, which I think he did, he designed their defense, which was that offset defense. Remember, they staggered the tackles and everything in there. He orchestrated that. He worked with the offense and ran the offense. Remember how they used to shift up and down?
Oh, yeah.
Put their hands up and down and all that. He orchestrated all that. And they also said he sat in the special teams meetings and helped run that. Here was a guy that could work in all 3 areas, have a big hand in all 3 areas. So I walked down the field the first time, and I looked over there. The other thing about him was what? He looked so good on the sideline. Remember how he used to put that hand underneath his chin? He had the hat and everything. And I said, that guy looks like he just walked out of a clothing store. I've gained 20 pounds. My eyes are sunk to the back of my head, and I'm trying to coach against Coach Landry. I've never been so intimidated in my entire life as coaching against Coach Landry. I loved him.
Yeah, and in terms of his history too, I mean, think about it. He came from the Giants organization. He's a defensive coordinator. Vince Lombardi's the offensive coordinator, right? And
right.
then in a way, Landry created the middle linebacker position for Sam Huff. He is as all-time great as they are. And then again, it's interesting that he comes from the Giants organization. We got Giants versus the Redskins coming up on Thursday Night Football. Joe, what is your memory of that rivalry with Parcells, who came in after you, Joe?
I got to tell you, Parcells lots of times says nice things about me. That guy and that coaching staff going against Coach Parcells, I would say, is one of the hardest things. That is the hardest thing I did in the NFL. I mean, those games with the Giants, I think, were some of the classic battles. I can remember being on the goal line. You got John Riggins going over the top against Lawrence Taylor and all the studs they had. It was battle royal. And the problem is we came out on the short end, a lot of those. And it was crazy in those days, the first go-around. It was like the Giants had a tough time with the Eagles. We had an easier time with the Eagles, and then you got the Cowboys in there. It was kind of like round robin. Everybody was teeing off on everybody. It was an NFC East. I've always respected it. the whole time I was in it, I kept saying, man, I hope we get some bad owners and bad coaches on these other teams, but we didn't.
Right. And then before we let you go, Joe, what's your take on Belichick? What do you think about Belichick as an all-time great? You're going to have a bust, and he's going to have a bust in the same room as you at some point.
Yeah, well, we know that, hey, he's going to be headed for the Hall of Fame, and, I think that what they put together up there is certainly with the quarterback they have is special. So I think that's kind of what will happen.
Joe Gibbs, Hall of Famer here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, what's your Thanksgiving looking like, Joe?
Going to hang with the family. Yeah, we've been traveling a lot here for 38 weekends with racing, and we're going to stay kind of close to home.
Okay. Joe, look forward to it. Really appreciate seeing the football life, and I'd love to have you back on anytime. Really enjoy our chats.
You got it, Rich. Thank you. And, hey, happy Thanksgiving to all the Redskin fans. Thank you.
You got it. At Joe Gibbs Racing.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.